Hey, how's it going, internet friend? Miles here, and today I'm going to show you how to edit with Adobe Premiere Pro, which is this lovely purple-looking program right here. So I've set up a demo folder with some clips in here that we're going to show you how to import into the program, edit them together, and then export them to create your own little video. And then you can go from a frowny face like this to a happy face with your little video that you're proud of now. Okay, so without further delay, let's get started.
So the first thing that we're going to do is I always like to make a new project folder. It's important to keep everything organized so that you don't lose track of it later. So what I would recommend doing is create a folder like this one. I named it Editing Project. And if I just open it up, I've created 4 folders here. And I would do the same thing for your project. So I like to number them so they stay ordered and organized, but you can do it however you like to organize your folders. And I would start with just a Premiere Pro project file folder, which is where the program Premiere will save its files. Then your raw video, which is everything that comes off the memory card. Your assets, which is your music and photos, anything else you want to put into the video you're making. And then your exports, which is where you'll find the finished product. And this is super helpful because if you have to come back at a later date, you'll be able to understand what you were working on really easy. So it's really important to get into these good habits early. Don't be lazy because you'll just confuse yourself later. Okay. So the first thing I would do is make those folders. And then I have a little folder here called Golf Video, and these are my raw clips. So this is what would come off your video camera. So what we would do is put the memory card or plug in the camera into the computer, and you'd find your video files, and then you just take them all, select all the files, and drag them into that raw video folder. So we're done with that one, and now we have our nice project file. Fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to do now, if it will minimize my, oh, it's not responding. Thanks, Microsoft. Okay, so we're going to open Premiere Pro now. And it can seem a little overwhelming at first, but we're going to try and break down some of those complicated menus to show you how easy it can actually be to use the program. And a lot of the more advanced stuff you don't have to touch. It can be as simple as you need it to be. So we get a nice little piece of artwork here that Adobe is kind enough to share with us as we're waiting for the program to load. And here we are. There we go. So this is the intro splash screen. And if you find that I don't explain enough about what you want to know about how to use Premiere, you can always go to these tutorials. They're actually quite good at breaking down some of the more just other areas of how to start editing. So I'd recommend those. YouTube videos are great too, but let's see what we can cover today. Okay, so here I would go to New Project. If you have an existing project, you can use Open Project, and that will give you a file browser to check it out. Or if you've worked on recent projects, you can see I was dabbling around with another tutorial on Premiere Pro. You can click on one of those, but today we're just going to click New Project. Great. Okay, so now we get this little menu. And what the heck is this? Well, it's asking us, what do you want your Premiere Pro project file to, what's the details of it? So first of all, we're going to give it a name, okay? And I like to date things to keep it organized, so I do 190610 because that was the date today, and editing project. We're going to call it that, and we're going to save it. We got to find our project, editing project, and save it into the Premiere Pro section, right? Because we want to keep that organized in its home. So now we know where to save it. There's a bunch of other settings here. That's for ingesting, which means to load the footage into your editing program. We don't really need to worry about a lot of that stuff because we're not going to use it. You can change it if you're doing kind of a little bit more advanced or you want to ingest it in a certain way. But for now, let's just ignore it because you'll be fine, okay? So this is what Premiere Pro looks like. It's actually going to look like this. Mine's a little different. You can see that what I just did is you can click on these little title names here where it says program or even source. You can drag them and you can readjust them to how you want your windows to be. So I could put it up top here if I want. I can put it beside. This is going to be, let's just reset everything by going to editing. Nope. Color. I'll reset it. Yeah. Nope. All right. Cool. There we go. Okay, so this is your default view of what the program looks like. So you have a couple different screens here. You can click and drag on the name of any of them if you want to change the layout of the windows, and you can make them floating windows, but let's just start with the basics. So let's keep it how it is for now. If you find that this isn't how it looks, you can use these tabs up top here, or you can go to Window and Workspaces, and they're the same options. And these will change between the different layouts that Premiere can use. So this would be an audio editing layout. We're just going to stay with the default editing layout because that is what we want to do. So how do you get your footage into Premiere? Well, what you're going to do is double click on this little box here. Okay, see where it says project? You can double click on that and it will ask you, where do you want the footage to come from? So we're going to go to editing project, raw video, and we're going to import all of our clips here. Great. Now another way you could do that is if you went to File, Import, but I find it's easier to just click on this box. You have to click on this dark gray area. You can't click up here because that's not part of it, but okay, there we go. We have all our clips. And we can click on this little button here, which changes to list view, which will allow you to see them sorted out in a list, or you can go to icon view, which will show the icons of all the clips. And you can see if I'm just gently hovering over each clip, it will scrub through what is part of that clip, right? So that's one way to take a look at your footage real quick. This guy teeing off. This was a nice little pan of the waterfall at the front of the golf course. Yeah, so if I double click on a clip, it will bring it up to the source view here, and I can just use this little playhead to scrub through the clip, right? And if I hit play, it will play it. Great, we don't need to listen to that, all right? So how do I actually edit something? So what you need to know is you have to make a sequence first. Sequences are how you edit the actual footage. So if you think of it like a table and you have photographs, which would be your footage on the table, you need a table to lay the photographs on. So the sequence is your table, if that makes sense. So right click on this little gray area and go new item and sequence. And there's a bunch of options here. Whoa, scary. Not that bad actually, okay? All this is asking is, what are the settings for your project sequence? And how do they relate to the video footage you're using? So generally speaking, you want to use a sequence that is the same as what the video footage is you're importing, okay? So if you're using 1080p at 23.976 frames per second footage, you would pick a 1080p at 23.976 sequence, okay? For most people, if you don't know what your camera settings are, or you didn't figure it out, the general rule of thumb is, and I'll give you a couple tips here, DNX HQ 1080p 23.976 is probably one of your most default settings, okay? Most things nowadays are filmed at 1080p. 23.976 is a very normal standard frame rate for film. If you're doing television, it might be 30 frames, but for the most part, you're safe with 23.976. You could also try AVC HD at 1080p at 24 frames per second. But the nice thing about Premiere is that it'll actually correct you if it thinks that what you imported was wrong. So I'll show you that here in a second. But for now, we're just going to pick this one, the 23.976 1080p. So great. This icon here, see how it's got these little lines on it? That means it's created a sequence, and we see it's named here sequence. And now we have some bars over here. So now we have something to actually edit on, right? It's like the table. So I can take a clip and I can drag it over onto this timeline. And if I hit play, oh, I'll hear my voice. I'm just going to mute that so we don't have to listen to me. This little M button is mute if you ever want to mute your audio tracks just while you're editing. Make sure you unclick it while you export, or you won't have any audio on your clip, okay? So now we can see that when I play the playhead, press spacebar to play, you can see me moving around while this guy is trying to do some practice putting. And yeah, looks pretty good so far. We can scrub through here to go faster and slower. Yeah, so just to finish up what I was saying before about sequences, this footage was shot at 1080p at 23.976. if you look here, and I'll bring this clip up, this nice fairway shot was shot at 60 frames per second because I wanted to slow it down in slow motion, okay? So if I didn't have that clip in there, if this is the first clip I brought in, it should pop up and say, which it did, this clip doesn't match your sequence settings. Do you want to change this? So if you're starting a project out and you didn't know what your camera settings were, Premiere should ask you, and you could say, hey, I'm going to change my sequence settings to what the footage is. Thank you for helping me out. For my sake and for our sake today, we're going to keep it as is because we don't actually want to change this to a 60 frames per second timeline because that would be for a different thing. And if you want to do slow motion, if you shoot something at a higher frame rate and slow it down to 23.976, it'll play slower, which looks great. So for now, we're going to keep our existing sequence settings. We're going to get rid of that clip, and we're going to bring the guy putting back in, okay? Awesome. So there's all this preamble stuff at the beginning here, and we don't want that because I think later on he actually makes a long putt right there. Awesome. Okay, so we want to just clip that little bit. So what you can do, make sure you have this selection tool selected. You can press V to select it. And you can just click on the edge of the clip here and see where it's got the little red bar, click and drag, and we're just removing all that beginning bit up to where we need to be. And now we just have a little bit too much. There we go. And we've just got the putt. Okay, awesome. Now, another way you can do this is with the razor blade. So if you, or the razor tool, you press C, or this little razor icon over here, and you can just see how there's a little line that hovers over this clip now. Wherever I click, it will cut the clip up, okay? Then I press V again, and we'll go back to our pointer, or click the pointer again, and now I have a couple clips. So I can just select these, click and drag, delete, great. Okay, so let's get rid of the tail end of this clip. So let's see, we put the ball in the hole there, and you can see that I'm trying to do something that's a little bit precise, so let's get a little closer on our timeline. So plus key and minus key will help you zoom in and out, okay? So let's see where he sinks that. He makes the putt, ball's rolling, a ball goes in, great. Let's stop there, C, cut, V, click, delete, okay? So yeah, so that's the basics of selecting, moving clips, cutting clips. So now we can start to actually edit stuff and put things together, okay? So I can either drag a clip from this bin over here and it will put it in, or I can, if I've double clicked on it and it's the selected clip up here in my preview monitor, right? Because this is just for watching clips if you're trying to sort through things and see, okay, well, what else do I have in here? So he's teeing off and see whatever, everything I have. I can drag from that, click and drag from there, and I'll also get a clip from there, okay? And you're just doing the same thing. There's a bunch of setting up at the beginning there, a little bit of movement, right? Camera's not in the position. We want to get rid of that. We want to wait till they're actually moving. So yeah, that seems good. Press the C button, click. Press the V button, click, delete, and slide it over, okay? Awesome. Now we got a nice little zooming. Let's get rid of the tail end of that. And what else do we have here? Guy teeing off, okay? Let's find where he actually tees off. So you can see I'm sorting through the actual clip here because a lot of times you'll end up rolling on the whole beginning stuff when they're getting ready and you're just picking out the key moments. Instead of having to drag this whole clip over here and find where I need to be and cut the ends off, right, and delete these, let's do this a different way, okay? So you can actually use what's called in and out points. So if I press the I key, I get this nice gray bar down here, and that's set my in point, okay? I need to set an out point, so I'm actually gonna move that over just to right where he tees off. Close enough. He makes the tee off, and I'm gonna hit O, okay? The O key, that was a weird sound, O. So I to start, O to I for in, O for out, okay? Now I have this nice little gray selection. So that's the only thing that's gonna come if I click and drag from that box. All I get is that area, right? We cut out all that beginning stuff and we just get the tee off. Great. So that's another way. Oh yeah, if the playhead makes it to the end of the sequence, it's gonna go back to the beginning. You can change that, but we're not gonna cover that for now. Oops. And if you ever make a mistake like I just did, Control Z undoes whatever you just did. So say I deleted this, I can press Control Z. There we have it. It's back to where it was, okay? So don't be afraid to try things out and change things up. Maybe you think that works better like that, and this clip goes there, and you're like, I don't like that. Control Z, back to where we were, okay? So the other thing is we're putting these clips together. So we have this shot of the guys in the cart, and we're gonna put this guy there, teeing off. And it's still a little early, so I'm zooming in with the plus key. I'm shrinking that clip, dragging it back together, okay? And a lot of editing is just working on timing, so you want to make sure that it's not too slow or things work together, right? I'm using the space key, like I said before, to start and stop the playhead. So these clips are kind of floating out in no man's land right now, and this timeline, you can see there's numbers up here. That corresponds to how long your video is. Right now, I got a big gap at the beginning, and that means I got 7 minutes of blank space. Okay, so what we want to do is bring these all the way to the beginning so that there's no blank space. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. We have this man. I know there's a good moment here of them high-fiving, so I'm going to use my in and out, get just the high five, bring that down here, and see how it looks. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, I know also in this clip there's another bit, and we're going to build a little mini edit here. Okay, this guy tees off, and the way that he's standing, I'm going to try and cheat it with the next clip I have. So he tees off with his wedge, and this clip is a close-up of somebody else teeing off with a wedge. Okay, now I know their shoes are different, but the motion, because it's the same motion, should carry a pretty good feeling between the two. So let's try like that. Tees off. Great, we're gonna bring those down. And this is, again, editing is trying to overlap things so that they feel like they're part of the same sequence. And we're more about creating the feeling and the excitement of being golfing. So we need to sort out how we want to put these clips, right? So I think the way we want this is his tee off should be the end bit so that we see the release. So it looks like he goes up, he twists, and when his leg is angled like that, right, we want a little bit more from the beginning here because we want it to be about the same. So yeah, that looks about like the same motion. He's going up, he tees off, great. Looks good. Let's see it one more time. Yeah, it's pretty good. We could have a little bit more in the beginning of this, but just so it's not so quick together, and I don't like that those guys go down. Give a high five. Can trim that a little earlier. Select all these clips, bring them over. So I'm just dragging things around so where it feels good, and we're just doing a little basic editing here, right? Let's move this all over because I know we have a nice little establisher here with the pan over. So we're going to take the middle of this. See, there's a card right over here. They had a little pitching wedge competition to try and hit some cards for some prizes. So let's just make it look like a normal golf course and put an out point there, and we can drag that in. Now it's purple clip because it's a different frame rate. So that's why it's like that, and it doesn't have any audio. So this is actually a good time to talk about the video and audio tracks. So the top layers here, you see there's V1, V2, V3. These are your video tracks. And the bottom layers here are your audio tracks. So you can stack video and audio. See, I can take this clip and move it on top. And when I play, it's going to start with the putting and then cut to whatever the highest clip is, okay? So you can layer things if you want to get creative. You could use that as a transition between the two. Maybe it works, we're not editing this perfectly today, but maybe it works for your edit. But you have a lot of options with playing things around. So again, don't be afraid to get dirty and kind of play around with things. And yeah, if I unclick the mute button here, you'll be able to hear the audio from all this. Me giving the guy feedback and the cart's moving along. Great. Okay. So I think we got a nice little sequence here. You can scrub through it real quick just to see. I won't bore you with it real time. So let's export that and see how we make a finished video. So what I'm going to do is going to go File, Export, Media. Okay, you can also press Control M, click on that, and whoa, one more scary menu. It's not that bad. Okay. The first thing you want to see is here's a preview of what your video that you're exporting is, and there's another little timeline down here that you can scrub through and see all of your lovely edits. Make sure that this is set to the entire sequence if you just want the entire video to be exported, and I'll explain what I mean about that. So the same thing that we were doing with this in and out points for clips, you can do with your video. So if I want to press I and O, right, say I want to cut out these guys at the end here. Right now, if I go back to my media export settings, if it's only set to sequence in and out, it's only going to do that selection that I made, right? The rest of the stuff, see how it's grayed out here? It's not going to be included in the final video, okay? So what you want to do is put either entire sequence or make sure that your sequence in and out settings are set to the right area so that what you want to be exported is actually exported, okay? It's just a little heads up. The next thing you're going to do is come over here to Format. Now, there's a lot of different video formats that you can export to. Honestly, I probably used 3 of them, so I wouldn't worry too much about this. Right now, H.264 is the most common one. H.265 will be coming in the future, but if you're worried, just use H.264. It's the easiest. That's what we're going to do for this video. Okay, so now we know how the video, so what this is your codec that the video is being wrapped up in. It's basically the language of how it's being compressed. So we know the language. We don't know how much the language is going to be spoken. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyways, what we're talking about here is the bit rates. Okay, so again, this is probably the most scary looking screen. It's really not that bad. All you're doing is saying, hey, how hardy is the video going to be that I'm exporting? Is it going to be really compressed and small and not have a lot of information in it so I can send it on mobile really easy or email it? Or do I want to use all the data that's available and make it a really high bit rate, really hardy, and make it higher quality? So the higher the bit rate, the higher the quality, the bigger the file size, okay? If you're worried, you can use one of these presets. They're pretty simple, right? There's a Twitter one, Vimeo one, YouTube one, blah, blah, blah. Or you can always just do match source at the top here, okay? And I'll show you an example. If I click match source high bit rate, that is going to make a file size of 28 megabytes. You can see down here at the bottom. If I click on that and go to medium bit rate, it's going to throw out more data and make a smaller file size, but the quality is probably still going to be pretty good. So it's probably about 70% of what the full amount is, so it might be a little bit less sharp, but for the most part, you won't be able to tell too much, right? And you can kind of play with these things and say, well, I need a smaller file size, or it's too big, or whatever. It depends on your project, okay? The only other thing that you need to know here is this output name. If I click on this blue, see it says sequence 1, it's going to ask me, hey, what do you want this to be named as and where do you want to save this? Okay, so if I want to put this in my exports folder, because that's where our final exports are, and I'm going to call this final export version 1. Right, nice to have version numbers just in case you have to come back, and then you get final version 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's basically it. Once you have all these things set up, you really don't need to worry about too much more. Again, there's a lot of other settings that you can tweak, but if you're just starting out, this will get your video made, okay? So now we just go to the bottom and we hit export. And depending on how big your video is, it's going to take a very quick or very long time. It really doesn't take that long unless you have a lot of effects or color grading and that kind of stuff, but our video is going to be like 10 seconds. So yay. Okay, so yeah. And one more thing, if you ever want to save a project, just Control S will save it. You can also go to File, Save, and there's an auto save that's also set up in here. I don't know how frequent it is. You can change it in the settings, but that's the basics, okay? So now, if we go down to our editing project and we go to our exports, we see our final video. Fantastic. We can click on it and we can see here it is in all its glory. Some putting. And we can see our go-karts going by, and we can see our whatever else we got going on here, man teeing off. This was from a golf tournament that I filmed a little while back, so just worked out as some good B-roll footage. And there you go. You've made a video, and now you can upload it to whatever you want and Congratulations, you've made a great video. Yay! Okay, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or confusion or concerns, let me know. Just reach out, social media. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.